In this video, we're going to be talking about the fundamental skill that will either lead to your real estate success or your demise. Stay tuned. What's going on, clever investors? Cody Sperber here, and in today's training video, we're going to be covering a topic of real estate investing that can not only help you win in your deals, but also help you win in life. Now, this is all about negotiation and specifically how to play hardball when you're negotiating as a buyer or a seller. All right, but before I get into the details of today's topic, if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so that way you turn on post notifications so that way you know whenever I drop some new training and content. Now, without further ado, let's hop into this video. When it comes to negotiating, there are pretty much two sides in the real estate transaction. Now, there's the buy side and then there's the sell side. Now, each side of the transaction has different tactics that you deploy, but when it comes to real estate investing, it's important to understand both. So let's start off with some of my top tips for buyers in the negotiation process. So tip number one is to do your research and know exactly what you want. Now, successful real estate negotiation, it starts with preparation. Now, the more you know about what it is that you want, the easier it's going to be to negotiate the terms. Now, some basic questions that you need to ask yourself during the research phase are, number one, what type of property am I looking for? Am I looking for a single family? Am I looking for multifamily, a condo? What type of property am I looking for? Number two, am I looking for a move-in ready property or am I looking for a property that needs some rehab? Number three, what type of funding do I have available for investment? Number four, what is my budget going into this deal? Now, once again, these are just some basic questions that you need to have answers for. Now, there are other things to consider as well, such as understanding the comps in your targeted areas, figuring out who is selling the property, and also understanding the seller's motivation and level of motivation for that seller. Now, you got to know these things. I'm telling you, it's so vitally important because if you structure your offer competitively, 9 times out of 10, your first offer is going to either get countered or worse, it's going to get rejected, but this is okay. All right, this brings me to my next couple of tips. Tip number two, don't get emotional in the negotiation process. Now, this is so much easier said than done. You're definitely going to find yourself into some pretty stressful negotiations, and this is normal. All right, don't get bent out of shape if your first offer is rejected or countered. What I want you to do instead is analyze the counteroffer and make a calculated counter to the counter. I think I said that right. Anyways, in any investment situation, you just have to think with your heads and not your hearts, all right? Keep emotions out of it. A good rule of thumb is to never go below 35% of the list price on your initial offer. All right, if it's too much of a low ball, they're probably not going to take it. Now, a lot of sellers will respect a decent first offer, and if they counter your offer, it's not the end of the world. In fact, this is a good sign that they decided to counter offer. It means that they're obviously motivated to move the property. So what I want you to do is reassess the counter and try and move the needle closer to your number. Now, tip number three is you got to be ready to walk away from the deal. Now, I wouldn't be the clever investor if I didn't give you real practical advice. And in my opinion, this is the most sound advice that I could possibly give you. All right? You got to be prepared to walk away. Being prepared to walk means that you're laser focused on your numbers, you're not being emotional, and you know what you need to accomplish in order to set yourself up for success when buying real estate. All right? This is a critical piece being a successful negotiator. You always have to know how much a property should be bought for so you can guarantee your profits on day one. All right, we're not trying to, buy a piece of real estate and overpay and then pray that we can sell it for more. No, you make money when you buy. This tip is extremely important. And I see too many new investors not willing to walk away or not willing to make the counteroffer and stick to their guns, and they overreach and they end up falling off the cliff, all right? You got to become obsessed with the property and the numbers and the potential return on the deal and not with the emotional, thing that you get involved in when you're negotiating. Trust me when I say this. There's always going to be another deal out there. You got to stay disciplined, stay focused, stay clever. And yeah, you like what I did right there? Good times. Now let's talk about the sell side of the transaction, all right? The sell side of the transaction is different. And it's a different approach than when dealing from the buy side of the transaction, all right? This is where a lot of people make really dumb mistakes because they don't stay disciplined through the process. So here are some of my top tips to stay disciplined when selling a property. Now, tip number 1, prep your home to compete. Now, like I've said before, winning in the negotiation process, it starts with your level of preparation. Consider what it's going to take to get your home sold and be able to do it in the shortest amount of time frame possible. All right, in order to do that, you probably got to get your house in tip-top shape. So what I like to do is check out other open houses, see what, how the properties are staged and see what they're listed for and see how long they're sitting on the market for. What are the days on market? What are the agents doing to market the property and get the property sold? Now, the more legwork you do and the more you put into this, the easier it's going to be able to make decisions during the preparation process. Now, I would also consider getting a pre-inspection done on the property. Now, this investment, it might cost you a little bit more, but it's going to be worth it in the long run. The pre-inspection is going to allow you to understand potential pitfalls that the property has and will ultimately have an effect on the value of your home. You're going to have to deal with this stuff at some point. So catching the items 2 to 3 months in advance, right before you list your home, is going to give you a leg up when the buyers come and they start trying to negotiate with you. You're already going to know what you're dealing with. It's also going to give you more leverage to justify your list price. So this is very important. You can never over prepare. Tip number 2 is to create a win-win scenario. Now, it's very possible that when you list your property for sale, some buyers are going to offer you a price that is under your list price. Don't be afraid of this. What we want to do in this moment is create a win-win scenario. Now, when a potential buyer submits you an offer that's lower than list price, you've got a couple of options. Now, the option that's going to give you the win-win scenario is to counter offer back at your list price or just slightly under list. All right, this is to show the prospective buyer that you are very confident in your pricing strategy and that you believe that you listed the property properly. That way, you're kind of sticking to your negotiation guns and you want to see what they do from that moment. If they're serious about buying the property, they're going to come back and continue to negotiate with you. Now, on the flip side of this tactic, you might lose some uninterested parties, but that's okay. We're going to get rid of all the buyers that are, out there making lowball offers and not really serious about buying a property, all right? Maybe you're not in a situation where you want to sell the property at a big discount. Don't do it, all right? This is a win-win scenario. You ultimately get buyers closer to your list price, and you're going to get rid of people who aren't willing to meet your terms. Tip number 3 is to get creative. Now, sometimes in negotiations, especially in real estate, it's a little bit of a give and take. Now, this is where you really need to put on your thinking cap and get creative. Now, to show you what I mean and to give you an example, let's analyze a potential scenario that you might run into. Let's assume that you've gotten multiple offers on your property and you decide to go with the buyer who's offering to purchase the property at the list price of $400,000. But they want you, the seller, to cover all the closing costs in the transaction. And let's assume that the closing costs are $8,000. Now, this is where being creative can actually work into your favor. So instead of rejecting the offer, what I would do is I would counter the buyer by raising the list price by the amount of the closing cost. So you're going to counter the buyer at $408,000 and then agree to pay their closing cost. Now, in most cases, if the property is in good enough shape, the buyer can qualify for the additional $8,000, and when we pay the closing costs, we're still going to net out our original $400,000 asking price, which is what we wanted. Talk about being clever. All right, so what do you guys think? That's all the tips I have for you in this training video. All right, let me know down below what you think of these strategies in the comment section. Also, let me know what other types of topics and trainings you'd like to see me cover in future videos. Now, as a free gift to you for finishing this video, I want to hook you up in a big way, all right? I've left a link in the description to my 30-day deal challenge. It's a free training where I give you my real estate contracts and other golden nuggets, and they're absolutely free. And last but certainly not least, thank you guys for watching this. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so that way you can join me and other like-minded clever investors on the road to financial freedom. I'm Cody Sperber, the original Clever Investor, signing off for now. Take care, comb your hair, Sperber out.